And to close us out, Laura Zucker, Executive Director of the Los Angeles County Arts Commission.
Because I learned from running a theater that you need to do something unexpected, particularly when it's late in the day. I believe that everything we need to know as arts managers, we've learned from practicing our art. So how did someone who went to the Yale School of Drama and was an actress for 2 minutes, you may or may not know that, get to be executive producer of the Arts Commission? Like many of you, I was not chosen, I was drafted. And I ended up running a theater for 10 years. I don't know how many of you know that. It was called Back Alley Theater from 79 to 89 in the Valley, and we only did plays that were new to Los Angeles. And as someone who ran an arts organization, I know how high the highs are and how low the lows can be. Now, visual artists have a lot going for them, including a trained ability to really see, perceive, but they often work in isolation. In the performing arts, we have to work collaboratively, and that gives us a whole other set of skills. And if I say something, by the way, that you agree with, would you please say, yo? Yo! We all know that the arts teach us flexibility, the ability to shift direction, expression, and our imaginations. But then, as we start to run our organizations, we forget that we know how to do these things. We all start by envisioning a season, a program, a constellation of people that will work well together to produce something exceptional. Learning to picture mentally what cannot directly be perceived, and imagining possible next steps and making a piece come to life is what we all do at the start of every rehearsal. But do we go through that same process to envision what our organizations can become? We're great at creating content, telling a story, a narrative. We can use this skill to deliver our organization's message. If we could see clearly and articulate where we want our organizations to be, we could lay out and then take the steps to get our organizations there, one step at a time, without feeling overwhelmed. I often think of organizational planning as a chess game. You know the pieces all start on one side of the board, and the objective is to get the key piece to the other side. You know you have to accomplish this by moving several pieces in a planned, concerted way to reach your goal. And along the way, you inevitably encounter challenges. But we're all adept at solving problems. After all, isn't that what rehearsal is all about? Solve this challenge, then move on to the next. We're masters of making use of the materials or resources at hand. We thrive under constraints. We know in our work that there is rarely divine inspiration. Rather, inspiration and creativity is enabled through hard work and by establishing a framework and rigorous routines. We're often under extreme, not to mention moderate time pressure to do our work, but we don't create the same possibility for undisturbed concentration to allow time to work through an administrative problem in the same way we carve out rehearsal time. Recently at the Arts Commission, by the way, we instituted 2 hours every Thursday morning that are email-free. We can't send each other emails or respond to them. It's a glorious respite from the email river when we can catch up on research or write talks like this. And since we all adhere to it, when we emerge around lunchtime, you don't have the sense of having fallen behind because there are very few emails to catch up on. We know from our practice that conflict is often good for the creative process. The productions that move forward without any strife often seem to fall flat in performance. While it's too much to expect that we would welcome conflict, we can value that same diversity of opinion in the running of our organization. Naturally, there's tension between artists who are envisioning different outcomes. So why shouldn't there be constructive tension between staff and boards when they aren't sure which way the organization should be headed? Every time we put together a program, we want to try new things, extending ourselves beyond what we've done before. We push ourselves to explore and take risks. We say, see what would happen if. What else could we have done? How could we do this a different way? We learn not to worry about mistakes. Just be brave. We actually want to step outside of our comfort zone. We all need to find useful ways of coping with the fear of failure. The good news is that when we make an artistic or organizational mistake, the patient doesn't die. No one says, bad art, go to jail. Our sense of mission often makes choices feel like they're life or death. But the good news is they are not. We know not to give up when we're working on a new production. We can't because we're already selling tickets. And yet sometimes we allow ourselves to feel stymied by our organizational dilemmas. We need to apply the same stick-to-itness that we do to our production process. One of the great tools in our artistic practice arsenal is that we have the best on-time record of any industry. When we say we're opening the show 2 years from now on March 8th at 8 p.m., it happens, even if we have to walk through walls to do it. This is why I don't understand construction people. But we sometimes don't adhere to our internal deadlines for getting our marketing materials ready to go out in time to have maximum impact for that same production. You know what I'm talking about. Things we wouldn't dream of putting off in our production work, we find ways to defer for our organizations. We do need to develop craft in arts management, just as we do in our artistic practice. This might mean participating in many of the workshops you did today to learn about what's new in dynamic pricing or social media. We know that in our artistic practice, technique is not something that constrains. Rather, acquiring technique gives us control over our work. As you move back into your world from today, I urge you to remember that creative people love mistakes, because we know they're just opportunities to think differently and try something else. About you.
And with that, I close out LA Stage Day. Hopefully we inspired you. Hopefully you've been able to meet somebody new, and hopefully we've given you an idea or two that you can bring with you as you start the work week, either tonight, tomorrow, or Monday. We'll see you next year.